Just 1 second, one more second, please. Couple of final touches to be made before we actually start. Okay. Let's see.
You know, that focus on you until we can our poor, you will see I'm sitting here. But if you want to be seen, like you can lock on your phone and put it up to it. Because it's not for you here. It's on, but I will show you the same. See, we can and I can zoom out. Yeah, well, you just leave the link.
Oh my God, so we must go through Facebook.
Okay, go. Give that again.
Mama, you have it like, did you put in the family forum?
Yes, Facebook. Yes, I said it.
To the family forum.
Awesome. So we are being live streamed right now. Again, welcome. Good afternoon. We'll start shortly. Brother Tangi, is everything good now?
I think everything is good if you can hear me.
We can hear you 5 on 5.
Thank you.
Awesome, awesome. Okay. What else? Right. So I think we will start formally. Again, we want to begin with a sincere apology. We did not anticipate this, but it happens, and we have taken care of it, and we're glad that we can still proceed. So good afternoon, good morning. I know people in California, it's still morning. Good afternoon and good evening to the people joining us from Cameroon. My name is Jude Fokwang. I'm the executive publisher at Spears Media Press, and it's a sincere pleasure to welcome you all for what promises to be a phenomenal book launch. A little bit about the press. We started publishing awesome books since 2014. We publish fiction, nonfiction, poetry, drama, you name it. And we are fiercely, very proudly Afrocentric in our publishing platform. We provide a platform for African authors, storytellers to be able to tell their story. And we have been doing that for almost a decade. So next year is going to be our 10th anniversary, and we are really, really looking forward to celebrating that. A little bit about how to contact us and where to find our books. If you go to spearsmedia.com, you'll be able to see all the titles that we have published. We have published, we've published books that are very academic, so history, politics, books in education, books in science, but we've also published lots of fiction. And today we are celebrating one of those fictional works, which is Sibi's Adventures in Alahtene. We are found on all social media platforms. You can find us on Facebook, so facebook.com/spearsbooks.
We lost your audio.
If you have questions, please feel free to, contact us. For purchases, if you like to purchase a book and you want to skip the website, we would also communicate those details to you. You can actually buy directly, pay through Cash App, through Zelle, and other options that we will be more than happy to share with you as this afternoon unravels. So I think this is where I would hand over to the moderator who would be handling this. And I think Lillian will come in to introduce the moderator for us. Lillian, are you there? Lillian, can you hear me?
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, thank you all for joining. Honored to introduce our moderator for today's book launch. Peter Su for Tange is president of the Northwest branch of the Anglophone Cameroon Writers Association, ACWA. He taught English language literature in many secondary schools and also drama and theater arts on a part-time basis at ENS Bambili for so many years. He served as principal for 19 years at GHS Bafut, GHS Santa Bamenda, and downtown. Bamenda and Tamulu and downtown. He was also chief examiner for A-level literature in English for a long time. Tange was highly acclaimed for the program Literary Workshop, a program on creative writing and literary criticism over CRTV, Bamenda, which aired in the 80s and 90s. He is presently co-producer of Writers Club over the same station, although he does it now from Maryland, where he now resides. After his retirement from the Cameroon Public Service. He has self-published 2 plays and is a reputed theater and film actor and director. Please join me in welcoming Peter Su for Tange. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Lillian. Are you getting me, please? Yeah. Thank you so much, Dr. Lillian, for that introduction. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this book launch. As Professor Jude has indicated, it is a phenomenal book launch for so many reasons. The personality of Ma Mary Fossey, the fact that we are getting another female writer, and the fact that Cameroon literature is being enriched. We like to thank Spears Media Press for the opportunity to have this launch and for this platform. So many people are being inspired and lots of things are being achieved because Spears Media Press is highlighting and promoting not just the book industry, but the writing and the reading culture. And so we'd like to thank you, Spears Media, especially Professor Jude, the Executive Director, and all who are assisting you. We like to welcome everybody who has taken time to be here in the book launch. Our experience in the past, whether it is an open book launch or it is a Zoom book launch, is that people scarcely find time to attend. They just say they are going to read the book. But it's important for us to be able to come together like this to receive this new baby. We know what it means in our African culture to receive a newborn baby, especially when that comes from a personality that is a household name. So coming together, it gives that baby more warmth as the baby finds life or finds their feet. It is also an opportunity for us to encourage the mother of the baby. The Zoom might not give us the large sort of public audience that we want and the sort of ambience of raising money. But you see, we put the author in focus, and that gives her inspiration to write more books. And through what we say, definitely more people will be inspired to get into the writing field, and a good number of readers also will be inspired, because this has been our cry in Cameroon. Perhaps another thing which is important in this book launch is the fact that we begin to look at we begin to share some critical perspectives about the book. And I guess that when we come to the Q&A section, those who have read the book might be able to make inputs as to how they feel about the book and and how maybe the author might improve, or even the publishers in this newborn child that they have given us. Of course, ladies and gentlemen, we would not be here if Mrs. Mary Fossey did not write this book. You see, in the early 80s, when I was in the university, the controversy was about the paucity of writings from Anglophone Cameroonians. And later on in the 90s and early 2000s, the controversy became the paucity of writings from female writers. And of late, and especially with the thrust from Spears Media Publishing, we see that a number of women are coming into the limelight. I just think about the not too long publication of Bearing Witness, championed by Joyce Ashutantang. I think about Before the Sun Turns Red, Lily Anatanga, and a good number of women. And here comes Mrs. Mary Fossey with this very, very thrilling biographical storytelling here. So the controversy is not much more on whether Anglophones are writing, on whether women are writing, but the trust now should be on the grounds that we are covering. And I want to assure everybody that this particular novel that we are launching today covers so many perspectives that would be of great interest, not just to the readers, but to a number of researchers on Cameroon literature. And so welcome, ladies and gentlemen, and I would now like to welcome Ms. Lum Mata Esse to actually tell us who Mrs. Mary Fossey Banteku is, the person who has brought us together. Is Ms. Lum Mata Esse around?
I am here. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay. All right. I think my names have gone back to when I was a baby. So they have it as Lumata. But anyway, my name is Martha Lum, now Esse. And it's my honor to introduce to you all my older sister. I'm the baby and she's the oldest. So this is quite an honor for me. So I'll give you a little bit of bio about her and her extensive background and what really qualifies her to write this book, which I think a lot of you guys will find great interest in it. So Mary Fossey Banteku, she obtained a degree in law from the University of Yaoundé in 1983. And after that, she went to the University of Yaoundé, where she gained admission into the prestigious ENAM, which is, what is it? It's the School of Administration and Magistracy, where she studied public administration and management. She later graduated as a civil administrator. She began her career as a police officer and went on to serve in various administrative positions with the Cameroon government. In a career that spanned over like 35 years total. She served as an administrative bench of the Supreme Court in Yaoundé, the Ministry of Social and Women's Affairs, Ministries of Environment and Forestry, Environment and Protection of Nature, and the Ministry of Public Contracts. She has occupied various positions ranging from Chief of Service, of the Director and Technical Advisor to Minister. So you guys see, she's been around the block. She eventually moved on and co-authored a book back in 1996. So this is not her first go around. She co-authored a book titled Biosafety Priority Needs for West and Central African Countries. And this publication was in recognition of her efforts in promoting biodiversity, a newly discovered plant in the Cameroon's Lebialem Mountains region is named after her. And that plant is the Marianthus fossey. So this gave birth to a foundation, a non-governmental foundation, which she started. And that foundation is called the Marianthus Fossey Foundation for Biodiversity Conservation, which she chairs as well. The foundation provides scholarships to girls pursuing commercial and technical education and offers public talks to communities on environmental protection. My sister enjoys nature. She enjoys listening to traditional and religious music. She enjoys reading, storytelling, and she's very well educated. So don't speak bad English around her. So So as you guys can see, she has an extensive background. And so allow me to introduce to you the one and only Mrs. Mary Fosim Bantenko, the baobab tree of the Boniface family, the philanthropist, and the great author of this thrilling and breathtaking book titled Sibi's Adventures in Alahtene. Hands together for her. So that is it about her. I will now give her the floor to, I'm not sure if that's what's next on the program, but that's
fine. That's fine. Thank you so much. So over to you, Sister Mary Bateko. Thank you, Martha, for that introduction. Okay, Ma Mary, we listen to you now.
You are muted, Ma Mary. Can you unmute yourself? Can you unmute yourself?
Okay.
Okay, all right.
Thank you all. Thank you and welcome to everybody. My special thanks to the team out there at the Spears Media. You are a great team, a wonderful team. I welcome all my friends, all my family, in fact, everybody who is on this line to do this book launch. It's really warming to hear these good words from everybody, especially Mr. Tangier, from my kid sister. And being here today is really something I really appreciate deeply. And I thank God, especially because for the past 1 year, my health was really, really bad. And I was just wondering whether I would be able to go through it all. But God willing, I'm here today and I'm celebrating with you all what I put down. And I hope to be able to continue to contribute to writing, because there's so much that we have in stock in our mind that we need to write. I really want to thank all of you for sparing the time on a Saturday when everybody is always very busy to come and be with me here and share some joy, some pleasure in this my book launch. I can see my colleagues from Accra, Ghana. I can see Dr. Charles. You're all welcome. I can see former colleagues from the Ministries of Environment and the Forestry in Cameroon. I see you all, Liliane and Mr. Chamunkong, you're all welcome. I can see a lot of people and I wouldn't go calling names. I really thank the other authors in the Spear Media Forum. We enjoy this view in that media, so I'm really happy having all of you here to support one of yours. So as it has been said, this is my maiden fiction work, and I really want to go a step further. If I have a few more years living, I should really put in my all. I've never taken any assignment lightly, but this one I'll give in more, because we shouldn't go away with much of the knowledge and wisdom which God has bestowed on us. We should at least keep something for the future generations. So thank you all for this wonderful illustration of love. And I mean, I can't even express it now. So in the course of time, when I have something again on the program, I'll be more elaborate. Thank you all.
Okay. Thank you, Mrs. Mary Fossey. You say if you have a few more years, we like to say that our meeting here to launch your book is also part of a prayer for you to have not a few years, but many years. And if you come out with such a wonderful production as a first production, then we can imagine what the subsequent productions would read like. So we congratulate you on this maiden edition. We trust that you are going to do even better in the subsequent publications. When Martha read your biography, those who have read the book, they will realize that it is indeed Mrs. Mary's biography. I mean, the experiences, those who have lived in the villages, they would identify with almost each episode or each story that is told in this novel. And that is the beginning of creative writing. I think I just read something on Facebook that Professor Limatanga was jotting about writing, and indicates that writing begins with yourself, the things that you know. And this is just what Mrs. Fossey has done. And one of the things we should achieve by the end of this launching is that we should achieve one more writer by making the writer convinced that what you know about yourself and your environment can help you to write. That said, like I said, when we come to a book launch like this, we are coming to welcome a new baby, of course, the baby being the book. And it is only those who hold us to heart, our dear friends, those who know what writing is all about, who can come to support us. We can call the names of almost everybody, but we do identify a few people whom we call chief launchers. And at this point, we like to hear one or two words from them. And if they could already make a statement or begin the buying process, it would be a good thing for us. Unfortunately, because of these technical problems that we had, and I'm using my phone for the audio, I can't get into the bio of some of the people that I'm supposed to talk about. And so from time to time, I will turn to Mrs. Mary or to Brother Jude for some input. So I'd like to call on Mrs. Mary Mbanteku, please. If you could introduce our chief launcher for us, tell us who he is, and then we'll be able to give the microphone to him for him to say a word, and perhaps maybe begin the purchase of the books. So who is our chief launcher?
Thank you very much. The chief launcher is none other than my son, Dr. Sam Tangunu Mbanteku, who will be talking to us from London. I just want to thank him, and especially for creating the time and letting you people know that I'm a mother of Sessions. Sessions are people from Sacred Heart College, and it happened that one of the team members in Spears, Professor Jude, is a Session, so I'm the mother of Sessions, so I'm so delighted to introduce to you Dr. Tangunu Mbanteku. Thank you.
Okay, Dr. Tangunu.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
It's a pleasure to present a warm welcome and greetings to all assembled here. The author, the publishers, readers, distinguished guests, well-wishers, friends, and family. I think it's nice as well that the marvel of technology allows us to come together at the same time in different parts of the world to launch and celebrate this book, Sibi's Adventures in Alahtene. My name is Tangunu Fossey Mbanteku, and my brief commentary is made in the capacity of chief launcher. The great number of people attending today reflects the high esteem which everyone has for the author as a distinguished member of the community. I think the strong interest in the launch today is also because the community and the culture is perhaps hungry for insights and understanding on itself in written literature form delivered from a female perspective. The authors are often a mirror on society, so this is important. By way of personal background, I am a children's doctor, and my area of practice is pediatric neurology, which is concerned with understanding the brains and minds of children and applying interventions and treatments to promote the well-being and development of children. Now, it is possible that I was selected to make a few general comments, partly because of this professional interest and the fact that this novel concerns children, given that I have a professional interest in the influence of culture and environmental experiences on the social and intellectual development of children. Now, in terms of what the novel contains, I'm not going to provide any spoilers because I want you to buy the novel and read it for yourself. But I will just very briefly mention that in terms of children's literature in Cameroon is distinct. It's a distinct genre. It's distinct from adult literature in Cameroon, and it's distinct from children's literature in Western countries. This is mainly because the origin of children's literature in Cameroon is very much in the cultural landscape of nighttime storytelling to children. So in the book, I'm not going to give details, but in the book you encounter the grandmother, Ndi, who is telling stories by the fireside to many children. So this childhood storytelling ritual has shaped children's values and mental outlooks greatly. I can inform you as an expert on children's brains that we now have evidence that the information which you give children at night, just before bedtime, gets replayed in their minds during sleep and forms extremely strong memories. So in modern science, this is called sleep consolidation. So clearly, the culture knew this, and the nighttime storytelling to children was designed to impress some strong moral messages to them, which they would remember even the next day. So this novel is a continuation of this fireside storytelling into the 21st century in a modernized book form. So in this regard, as a reader, you will notice that the structural elements are those of an African oral folk tale, and there are multiple tones which are being narrated. And in many ways, it does not follow the standard chronology of a Western children's novel or children's book. So these are particularities, as I said, which come from the fact that it's an oral tradition. So what cultural messages are there in the book for children? Again, you need to read the book, but I can tell you very in outline form that one of the things which you would pick up is that the grassfields culture gives a special status and protection to 8 key groups in society: children, women, mothers, the physically sick, the mentally infirm, those who labor and sacrifice for the betterment of the community, people like the king, the teacher, the blacksmith, those who treat the sick, the spiritual healers, the elderly, and the dead. The author introduces this message in different ways. A noticeable one, which is easy for a child to remember, is that she mentions the 8 days of the week. And there are these 8 key groups as well, you see in the novel. So the novel brings out these didactic moral principles for children in a humorous way, so that there is a lot of fun for a child reading it. The child will also learn the virtues of social leadership, such as conscientiousness, intelligence, frugality, and good ethical character. There is also very strong reflection there on the value of solidarity as a community. What I would say is that books like this are important in terms of touching on childhood, because childhood is a crucial formative period which shapes adulthood. In order to prepare for adulthood, childhood must expose children to small but manageable challenges so that they learn lifelong lessons. This has always been part of the grassfields culture, and Ndi, the grandmother, is clearly applying these principles, and she shows that even children who were thought to be irreversibly wayward by their parents can be reformed. So the other thing which I found very interesting and very advanced, and I say this from a sort of science basis, is that what Ndi is doing there has only more recently been recognized in Western science. I will mention here Dr. Sigmund Freud, who was trained as a pediatric neurologist like myself. Sigmund Freud actually studied the cultural practices for promoting child development on the African continent. And he noticed that there was an emphasis on play and storytelling at a time when children in Western Europe, due to the Industrial Revolution, were very mechanized and not really given such opportunities. Sigmund Freud came up with a scientific theory in 1909 that children's minds work in a very different way from adults' minds. In particular, children need play and stories as a sort of scaffolding to help develop their emotions and thoughts. Now, clearly, Ndi understood this already if you read the book, and it is quite possible that younger generations of women in the book may not have known this or have lost this knowledge when you compare to her. So a concealed message, I think, within the novel is that even whilst embracing the progress and modern advances in the material world, such as technology, we should be careful not to lose valuable human knowledge which exists in the culture. So essentially, this story has multiple layers, and the key point is that it uses a lightness of touch to introduce very serious topics to children so that they are aware of some of the historical events. I think it's not out of place to mention here that, without spoiling the story, that if you read it, there is a sort of background portrait of the economic destruction which colonialism had caused on the particular region where the book is set. It is presented in a subtle manner that will not distress a child. But what you can see quite clearly is that the community has experienced a large displacement of the menfolk who have gone to foreign lands outside of Alahtene to serve in military conscription into colonial wars or economic conscription into labor camps called colonial plantations. So the community has paid a huge amount in terms of labor and taxes, but you see in the book that they've received nothing in return. No secondary schools, no university, no medical schools, no roads. Although this is an exploitative and extractive system, what is clear is that the women are helping buffer the children from the consequences of this. We see secondary consequences as well. For example, men who have returned from war and who have experienced the psychological disturbances of this. We also see that the removal of the men from the community has created a vacuum, and there are less able and less ethical men who take over certain functions of the community, and they extort the community. They're involved in fights and alcohol overuse, that sort of thing. So although these might seem shocking to somebody who sort of reads mainly Western children's books, it's presented in a very subtle and soft manner so that a child reading it will not feel alarmed and shocked. There's lots of fun happening at the same time with these things in the background, but these are serious points. The short story then has hidden depths, and the author has clearly done a lot of thinking to distill these perspectives into a sort of simple allegory, a simple moral story, which is easy for young readers. In sum, this is a tale about resilience, solidarity, and triumph of a community against an externally imposed hardship which befell them. It shows the virtues by which this triumph was achieved. In so doing, children are able to learn these virtues and to replicate them in today's environment so that they can achieve even more and greater than previous generations. It is to be hoped that in the near future, this book will be accessible even more widely by being published into Bafut, into other languages of the grass fields, and indeed other African languages. So to return to my initial question, the question was at the start, why is there such great interest in this book? The answer is perhaps summarized by the following words of wisdom from one of our fathers. A few years ago, I was honored to be accorded the privilege of an audience with His Majesty the King, the Fawn of Bafut. His Majesty bestowed a profound message, which translates to the following. And this is the message. Culture is the foundation of society. It is through culture that we become human, as distinct from animals. A society only develops by strengthening its culture. So moving forward, I encourage the reader and the audience to meditate on and be conscious of the meanings of the King's message. Two last words. First, in furtherance of the spirit of this work, I wish to donate $500 to support the printing of more books and to support a cause by the author. Finally, if you will permit me, I will mention that the author is in fact none other than my beloved mother, as you might have been able to surmise. Thank you, Mama, for all that you do and have done. You are an inspiration in more ways than you realize. Mama, I love you and I am proud of you more than words can express. I'm already looking forward to the second installment of The Adventures of Sibi. Thank you everyone for your attention, and I particularly wish to thank the publisher and Professor Jude Fokwan for making this event possible. I hope you enjoy the book. Thank you.
Wow, 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 wow. Thank you so much, Dr. Tanguni Fossey. Thank you indeed. Since you are participating from UK, may I say, oh, hail the king, because you just crowned your king not long ago. That is a detailed study of the book. In my opening remarks, I did say that the launching ceremony gives us the opportunity of daring into some critical perspectives of the book. And that is precisely what you have done, classifying the book into children's literature, highlighting the oral literature elements of it, getting into the varied themes in the book, you know, the communality in the book, etc., etc., etc. And it is so interesting that you read all of these from the perspective of a pediatrician. And that this science perspective of it is something new, which your review has given me. That was really, really profound. And the kickoff is great, especially as you are opening up the book launch with $500. I don't know how we can cheer you up. Could you just give some signals, some signs of love to Dr. Tanguni? That is a great kickoff, and even though it's your, this is your mother, yes, thank you so much. Thank you.
We've been pasting messages in the chat.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Exactly. If it were a public occasion, I would have said we should give you a standing ovation. And those last words that you said about your mother, I want to say that they make me jealous. I know that she's my older sister, but they make me jealous because they come from the heart and they are so warm. And I hope that mommy took those words to heart. Again, thank you. And we didn't give you time to speak, so you really went quite detailed. We are asking Mrs. Fossey to give us 2 more launches, and each of them would have a maximum of 3 minutes to say a word. And we really need to be time conscious, because this there is a recording going on and it has to be within time limits. So if we have 2 more people, they will say brief words in the maximum of 3 minutes. any other persons, we would give them an opportunity during the Q&A session, and then they can share their own thoughts about the book. So, Mrs. Mary Bateku, please, could you, who are our next two launchers, please, if you have the names? Please mute, those who are not talking should mute themselves, please. Okay, right. Mary, are there other two names that appear as chief launchers?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I can't find their names on my phone, but what I'm seeing, it looks like there's a situation where so many people are using one person's name. So one of the chief launchers who accepted and confirmed is Atamcho Nixon Nebane. I can't find him on my. Yeah.
No, it's not on.
It's not
okay.
on.
Okay,
No.
he's not on.
On somebody's phone because they are on somebody's mic. How do you say it?
There's no Nixon. Is there any other person? On the list of participants, I don't see any Nixon.
But maybe the person is using some other person.
That's what I'm saying, man, because some people they are using other people's phones. You can see one name with about 10 other names, like one person having 10 names. So
we're just asking if Tangcho Nixon is around, could he indicate, please, maybe by show of hand, etc. If he's using another name, could he indicate by show of hand? We would identify.
Okay, we can move on.
Okay. If we don't have them, or I think maybe they'll still be joining us, as I say, towards the end of the launch during the Q&A session, we might give those special guest opportunities to say something. Before we pass on to the official book launch, may I recognize the special presence of Professor Matthew Gwanfobe. This because this book launch is coming on the heels of his own book launch, and that is my daddy, so to say. I like to say that he is very much appreciated for being here. And towards the end of the launching, if he would have a word, especially as he's such an iconic educationist, we would like to hear from him towards the end, if he would be kind enough to wait. That said, I will now call upon the publisher of Spears Media Press. I think we really needed a strong bow for this bow, Professor Jude Fokwang, a person who is very modest in his personality and who is doing just lots and lots of things for writers and for the educational community. May he now tell us about this book launch and perhaps elaborate on the modalities of how people are buying copies, or how they could do donations and queue in from where Dr. Tanguni started. So let us welcome let us now welcome Professor Jude Fokwang for the official book launch.
Thank you so much, Brother Tangi. Thank you for the wonderful work you're doing so far. We couldn't be more grateful for what you're doing. So I think just to control the noise, we're going to mute everybody. So again, coming back to what we normally do, you would have to be invited to unmute yourself just so we can control the noise. So I think that's the first thing I wanted to share. I hope everyone is enjoying themselves. We're looking forward to a very fun event. I was also telling Lillian this morning that this is really a Mother's Day's book launch. We haven't had a book launch of this nature, so I'm glad to see my fellow Miché there coming out to support his mother. And when I took upon this project, I told her very clearly that she too was my mother. So congratulations are in order. This book is currently listed at $20. For this launch, it has been discounted by 20. So you can grab it off our website at $15 a copy. We exhort people to buy for themselves, to buy for friends and family. This discount is not found anywhere else. You will not find it on Amazon, on Barnes & Noble. You won't find it anywhere else except on our website. Now, you may order your book directly to us. If you want to place an order, you may indicate so in the chat, or you may also just text us. We will provide you with information on how to pay by cash. Alternatively, you can also just place your order on our website and use the cash option. So if you go to spsmedia.com, in fact, we have pasted a link in the chat where you can find the book. And you can buy the number of copies you would like and choose the cash payment option if you don't want to put in your credit card there. So please take advantage of this sale. It is valid through the end of the month. So I think that's the most important information here. And then I know there are a good number of people who have already read the book and who own copies. And this is where we do the ritual. If you have a copy of the book, we would switch into gallery mode now. And this is where we'll be able to see everybody. And we invite you to hold a copy of your book. Please turn on your camera as well. We will also unmute everybody so you can all cheer on the author. So please, if you have a copy, it could also be an electronic copy, feel free to do so. Hold a copy of the book. We don't want to just have a blank screen. So please do hold a copy of your book, hold it up.
I like Martin's, he's holding up with his granddaughter or grandson.
Where is Martin? Okay, all right, I've seen him now. Awesome.
Grandson.
Thank you.
All right, so if you have a copy of the book, this is would love to try it. Okay, we have issues with sound.
I muted the person.
Okay, that didn't fix it. It didn't fix it. But no problem. I think this is an opportunity for us again to just celebrate the author, celebrate the wonderful mother and writer that we have in Ma Mary Fossey Bandeku. And for those who do not have a copy of the book, we still invite you to unmute and just cheer on the author. So you can be clapping for the author while we take a screenshot of this official ritual, this launch. So please, we know you are here to support and celebrate the author. If you don't have a copy of the book, that's fine. We know you would get your copy of the book. But please do turn on your camera, and of course, we want to know you were here, right? So turn on your camera.
We have like 10 Marilyn.
Yeah.
We can only tell you apart if you show your face on video.
Indeed, indeed. So please.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. People are
Get
complaining.
everybody to join.
People are what?
All right. So you can also just clap for the author, please. I mean, if you don't have a copy of the book. And we are about to take a photo. So this is where we'll invite one of our team members to take a screenshot. So we would declare this book officially launched. Congratulations, Ma Mary Fossey. And once again, happy Mother's Day.
Oh, thank you.
Very proud of you.
Congratulations.
Did we really clap? Did we really clap?
No, we did not. We did not. We have to.
Can we cheer? Oh, can we cheer? Cheer. Can we clap?
No, you put on your camera.
Thank you. Wonderful. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Mama.
Congratulations, Mama Mary. Good.
Congratulations, Mama.
Good, very good. And
we're so proud of you, always proud of you.
we are really proud of her, you know. Okay. Are we back?
Yes.
Am I on?
Yes. Over to you, Brother Tangi.
Acknowledge one personality. There is the Queen's mother here, the first.
Brother Tangi,
can we have a name so we can spotlight her?
Okay. Right. Thank you, Brother Jude, for that official launch. And I like the Mother's Day input, with which you started. We celebrate Mary Fossey. We celebrate all the mothers here. All the mothers here. We celebrate you. Without you, we will not be breathing. And if a mother is launching a book today, it shows how tireless all of you keep on working from different perspectives. Please let us celebrate the mothers. Really, let us celebrate the mothers. It's a big pleasure for all of us. That said, as we go on, I think we would keep on buying the books. I think, Brother Jude, the website is supposed to be available so people can just be buying, right? I think you should make the website available on the chat.
It is. I've posted that, and I'm also going to be sharing all our electronic payment options right now, so people can make donations. One thing that I forgot to mention, my apologies, was that I know there are people here who might also want to give cash donations to the author, and we'll be sharing that information as well. If you want to support the author with some cash donations, you're welcome to do so. We will post her PayPal, her Zelle and Cash App details shortly.
Okay. All right. At this point, we will invite the control room to give us just a dash of music, a little bit of interlude, and then we would continue, please, so people can just stretch themselves if you've been sitting for long. Just a dash of music, and we will continue just for 1 minute or so. We're 2 minutes.
Yeah.
We are waiting for a dash of music.
Oh, okay.
Say that again.
Lillian, do you have some music for us? If not, I can get something.
Yeah, just a dash of music, so in case somebody wants to stand up and just stretch themselves. Those who have been sitting since the beginning of the program, you know, you could just take 1, 2 minutes.
Yeah, okay, I'll do that.
Yes, I know you are looking for the best.
Exclusively from ABT Entertainment. Wabu foka kodoro tabi kandoro. Wabu nweka kodoro tabi kandoro. Abstrumental. Yeah, gala. Alo makyambana. Yeah, gala. Alo makyambana mama kongwe chankyambane de yomya. Mongo tu chankyambane de yomya. Olo makyala mama wekya no mokudonge. Alo makyala mama chu fumban. Che 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 manjonge. Che 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 bufwe. Woyo oh ngamona. Aya oh ngamona. Woyo oh ngakubale. Aya oh ngamona lo apole. Kudabi kusamo kulema. Woyo oh ngamona. Aya ngamona. Woyo oh ngakubale. Aya ngamona lo apole. Kudabi kusamo kulema. Woyo oh ngamona. Aya woyo oh ngakubale. Aya ngamona lo apole. Kudabi kusamo kulema. Mambale, 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 bama fano bilo. Bofo nagara makala tumsun be badan golfu. 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 Bofo nagara makala tumsun be badan golfu.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Lillian, for that very special selection. It might have just been a matter of coincidence, but that selection is laden with a lot of meaning for this occasion. It started off with the Bafut Mban, the Bafut anthem, and that is very significant for an occasion like this, because while it was they were singing it, the font of Bafut was flashed, and albeit that is just a picture or just a flash of him, seeing him on a book launch like this, which is being recorded, is significant for the author. And of course, the content of the song, highlighting love, is very, very, very important, because it is love that has assembled us here. And you might have heard something like Nganchango in the song. And that is a song that is referred to in this novel. So it is so well chosen and very appropriate and a very wonderful interlude. Welcome back, everybody, and especially those who came in when we had started. thank you for finding time to come in, and thank you for being a part of this great book launch. We are now getting into looking at the book itself. So far, we just showed it up. We will be trying to get into its pages now for a few minutes, and we hope that that ignites or heats up the interest that we have for the book this evening. So let me invite, we are going to have a review from Professor Lillian Atanga. But before she comes in, we have, let us see who she is in order to give meaning to why she has been chosen to give a review for this book review. So if you don't mind, I would rather like either Professor Jude or Dr. Lillian Ndangam, please, to give us the bow. Because my phone is being used for the audio, I can't get to Dr. Professor Lillian's bow. So could either Professor Jude or Dr. Lillian Ndangam please give us the bow of Professor Atanga before she gives us the review. Just a minute. I'm sorry that this is a little bit impromptu, but
no worries,
yeah.
no worries. I'm actually prepared for that.
Okay, so
yeah.
Professor Jude Pokwang would tell us who Professor Lillian Atanga is.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, Brother Tangi. Yeah, a lot of interfering noise. Okay, are we good now? All right. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce our reviewer, and I'm going to try to stick to the script because I could say a lot about Professor Atanga. She's an associate professor of gender and discourse studies and currently a senior research fellow at the University of Free State Bloemfontein in South Africa. She has researched and published widely on gender, discourse, and politics, examining the relationship between gender, language, and politics. Her interest in gender and politics has deepened with the conflict in the English-speaking regions of Cameroon, leading her to recently co-edit a poetry collection titled When the Sun Turns Red. Hopefully we'll be celebrating that volume soon as well. That's published by Spears. It paints the experiences of women in the English-speaking conflict-prone region of Cameroon. And Lillian has recently developed a new interest coaching writers, both creative and nonfiction, to develop this further. I should just add off script that Professor Lillian Atanga, has been part of the Spears team from its inception since 2014. And we couldn't be more proud to count her as a colleague and as a friend. So welcome, Professor Atanga.
Thank you very much, everyone. I have a little bit of noise in my background. I hope you don't hear it. I'm so proud to be the one to review this book by Sister Mary. We prefer to call her Sister Mary. And for any of you who've read this book, I'm sure you felt a deep sense of nostalgia. I'm sure you found yourself as Sibi in this book. That is, if you ever grew up in the grassy regions of Cameroon. I wrote this review and I'm going to flip a few things around, and I deeply appreciate the chief launcher who did a great part of my job reviewing the book and giving perspectives that I would never even have thought of, especially the pediatric experience of the book. The author earlier on today said her book is a creative piece of writing, and other people too have referred to it as a creative piece of writing. I consider this book, when I say I mean Lillian, after reading this book, a creative nonfiction bordering on autobiography using a narrative technique infused with folk tales. I also call it a period piece. Why do I call it a period piece? Although out of the novel, in a bibliographical note by the author, she gives the period that the book is set in. Reading through the book, you find that it is a book written around the colonial times, sometime before or after the 1960s, based on the experiences or the adventures that Sibi has in the book. As the author paints the pictures with her words, she weaves through these different experiences as seen in the words of Sibi. So what is the book all about? The book is about a vibrant little girl, and I want to put the girl as below 8 years, maybe the age between 5 and 8 years, whose name is Sibi. And Sibi misses her grandmother a lot because she was born in Akoti. Akoti by the author is translated as a forest, which is a far, far away country, if I can borrow from Shrek. And she wants to go visit her adorable grandmother in Alahtene, in the kingdom of Alabukum. So we see that Sibi, through a journey, migrates from Akoti to Alahtene. And in her life that she spends with her adorable grandmother in Alahtene, her very beautiful grandmother, whom she describes in extremely beautiful adjectives, she experiences different kinds of adventures in Alahtene. I'm going to come back to her use of names later on in the text. So the key characters of the book are Sibi. Sibi, as a little girl, does not even think it important to describe herself because the book is written in a first-person point of view. So the person writing does not think to describe herself, and we only see who she is based on one sentence in the book by her mother, who says, she is so little a kid and can barely carry out chores to help the grandmother. So if she's so little and cannot carry out chores, then she is really, really young, less than 10 years old. But then Sibi, in her very generous love for her grandmother, spends time describing the beauty, not just the physical beauty, but the character of her grandmother in this book. The book is written in 17 chapters. In these 17 chapters, she starts by describing her journey from Akoti to her destination, her grandmother, and the adventures. She narrates adventures in short stories, as can be seen, depicting the childlike mind of the main character, that is Sibi. She writes in very simple and accessible language. Of course, the chief launcher indicated in pediatric terms that she's a kid. So a kid's language is simple, it's accessible, but it's even more, I should say, adult, because she gives detailed descriptions of each of those adventures. They are very vivid and capture every sound, every smell, every taste, every feeling, as she gyrates to the rhythms of Alahtene and the sounds of the forest and the taste of her grandmother's kitchen. One can experience the fears and the joys and the different emotions that not only Sibi experiences in the text, but the people of the village. Some of the chapters, just so that you begin to see how interesting this book can be, bring up issues like the village market, harvest from the wild, village festivities, domestic chores, sad events, and strangers. And the author, with her use of descriptions, she names places based on the description of the places. And if you are from, say, the Ngembe tribe of the northwest region of Cameroon, you may imagine some of the places that she describes, like Akoti. Siru was born in, Sibi, sorry, was born in Akoti. Akoti is a forest. And the forest is the southern regions of Cameroon, which are coastal. And in my imagination, I see the southwest region. She uses Ala Bukum. My knowledge of Bafut, Bukum are notables, are royals. So it is a kingdom of notables. And her village, Alahtene, is a difficult village or a village with challenges, if I can give a rough translation of that. Then she describes another village as Agasa. Agasa means distance. And another one as Alakara, the country of, I should say the British or the white people. So as you read through the book, if you are blessed that you know your language and you come from the Northwest region, you begin to see some of these things without even having traveled there. And she draws on themes that are very familiar. Again, I say with people who have been born and raised within the grassfield regions of Cameroon. The themes relate to relationships and sexuality, the political structures of the village, school experiences, church experiences, funerals, births, marriages, farm experiences, harvesting experiences, fetching firewood, little mundane things that happen. She describes the political, the sociocultural, and even the economic situation and landscapes of the people that she lives with. She also gives a geospatial description of the village, such that you have a really vivid picture of where she is, what she is doing, and how she feels within that community. The question that one can ask as one goes through the book is, how much little Sibi could internalize and weave through the experiences and adventures as a kid? The answer would be, as I think, that the author sought an outlet for herself to retell these experiences of a venerated life that she lived. She glorifies in those stories the memory that she shared with her grandmother, with words that will make you want to experience that memory or get your children to experience that memory. Like I said earlier in the book that like I said earlier, that this book to me is an autobiography. I think that everyone who is born, not just in the Northwest region of Cameroon, but in Cameroon, should read this book, or at least get their children to read the book. Why am I saying so? As I read through the book, and I think we are going to read excerpts of this book today, a lot of those experiences, I live them, I feel them. For example, the little Sibi who is going to school and wears shoes, that the other children stare at her and start laughing at her. And then she removes the shoes and hides. That's something that I did myself. My parents bought me shoes and I had to hide the shoes because I was the only kid wearing shoes. She gives another experience, like the colonial experience of meeting a white reverend sister who is a nurse, who speaks the language of Alahtene. This paints the colonial period in which the story is set. Other stories include folk tales which you're very familiar with, like the stories of the tortoise, the tricks of the tortoise, and yeah, this one I'm sure our chief moderator, the Tange should really be familiar with, where there are these jujus in quotes that beat people in the night, or the ones that you can't look up because you go blind and all of that. As one weaves through the book, one relieves their childhood. That is, if you were born sometime before now, sometime say in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, you live a lot of these experiences, especially if you lived in the village where electricity was a problem, water was a problem, people needed to fetch water, they needed to fetch wood, which it describes the fetching of wood. People needed to pick wild fruits and all of those experiences. So I deeply, strongly recommend this book for everyone to buy for their children, to relive these moments that their parents and grandparents have lived. Sibi had a luck to live that moment with her grandmother, but our children may not have that luck. Even the author's children may not have that luck to live that moment that she lived with her own grandmother, and can only live that moment through this book. One thing I only noticed a moment ago is that the author acknowledges that she actually lived with her grandmother and lived some of these experiences and is just retelling these experiences. So the challenge and the question I am asking, especially to the literary minds in this forum today, is, would you consider this book a creative nonfiction, or you consider this book a fictional piece? Would you consider this book an autobiography, or you just consider it another novel? Whichever answer you have, I want to say that the author has done a really beautiful job bringing up these stories of hers and other people into a book which she titles Sibi's Adventures in Alahtene. The author has also done a really good job giving a bibliography, how do you call it? Just a moment. A glossary. What can also escape me? Giving a glossary which explains some of those words, but I want to say that that glossary is incomplete. And if in your course of reading you have anything that you do not understand, I challenge you to reach out to the author and have a conversation with her about some of the issues that she raises in the book. Thank you very much, Mrs. Mary Banteku, for this really great piece. And again, I encourage all of us to get a copy. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you very much, Professor Lillian Lem Atanga. I escaped reading your bio because if I were to read it, I'll have so many things to say. But let me just share with our audience that we have shared membership in Palace Productions Association and Acting Group, and in the Anglophone Cameroon Writers Association, where your contributions have always shown the difference that you make amongst women, trying to redefine what society defines about women. Thank you for that thorough review. And we would just like to look at, well, I want to say that the word that you used in your review is nostalgia. If we were to describe this book in one word, it's nostalgia. You know, going back to your childhood and how we grew up. And the series of questions that you asked, whether it's creative nonfiction or it is autobiography, etc. I think that a quick answer to that is all of that. Remember, again, I said in a book launch like this, we're looking at different perspectives of appreciating a work, and all the terms that you use can be relevant to this book. So very quickly, we would look at just two excerpts in the book, just for a minute or two, just to whet our appetite, because I know each person who is here is going to get copies of the book. But sometimes it also is interesting when somebody reads a book to you. So very quickly and snappily, I'll just give us two extracts. And the first extract has to do with this sort of communal life in Alahtene, the way that the checks and balances were done. You know, sometimes when we think about the olden days, we always think that the older generation always suppressed children. But one episode I find here, which is interesting, is the episode where one of the village councillors is ill at ease in the community because of the fact that he stole a chicken and the young people saw him and they now put eyes on him and they make him feel uncomfortable. This sort of challenge that the youth take upon themselves to check this sort of misbehavior in society is something that catches my attention. Let us just share it a bit. One of the counselors could not dare talk in public because the youth were always ready to boo him. Tam Maki, the notorious counselor, was reported to have caught a live chicken that belonged to someone else, twisted the poor bird's neck, and hid it in his handbag. This incident reportedly took place not far from a school field where young children were playing a football match. He had no idea that the kids in the playground had seen him commit the act and that they had alerted the rest of the crowd. Suddenly, the football match stopped. The players and spectators ran up to him and challenged him to show the content of his handbag. The counselor resisted the children's request, stating that kids were not competent to search an elder's bag. So all the kids followed him and chanted this song. What the thief of a counselor. So all the fowls missing every day in this village are stolen by you. The chicken is in your bag. Open the bag and let us inspect it now. Thief, highway robber, who sits in the village council pretending to judge people. As the crowd of young angry people who followed him grew bigger and bigger, he was fortunate to see one of his fellow councillors approaching from the opposite direction, who sought to know why a crowd of children was following him. Maki responded, "Take this handbag that I'm carrying. Look inside with the eyes of an old man and see whether there is any chicken inside. These kids are accusing me of being a thief. Just check the contents of my bag and see for yourself whether there is a chicken inside." The other counselor took the bag, held it close to his chest and pretended to inspect its contents. After inspecting the bag, he said to the children, "My children, where is the chicken you guys are talking about? This bag has no such thing in it." He handed the bag to his friend and said, "Take your bag and go your way. I think these kids were dreaming, especially as the sun is so hot. Children, go home to your parents and never accuse an old man of stealing unless you have the proof." Although the children dispersed, many of them swore that they had seen the accused counselor twist the neck of the live chicken and put it in his handbag. Some of the kids believed the man had magically made the chicken disappear from his bag. The story spread around the whole village that every evening as each child recounted it to their parents. Their parents in turn discussed the matter in the farms, in Jangi houses, and at every drinking spot. It became public talk that the older boys in the village swore that they would never allow the counselor to talk in public. So that's my first excerpt, and I wonder what you make of it. No commentaries, but see how the young people are able to get this counselor, a sort of spirit that we see young people of today taking up, especially when it comes to, political affairs. Now, most of the stories, a good number of them end up with morals, and that's how storytelling in the olden days, went on. It always ended with some moral, and I just like to bring this little excerpt that ends with a moral. Again, one of the things that would attract us to be able to encourage our children to read this book, because what they called moral standards in the olden days was also gotten through this storytelling in the evenings that ended with morals. So I want to bring this extract from the chapter 10, Harvest of the Wild. We know that Mary Fossey worked a lot in the Ministry of Environment, and when you read the book, you see her deep love for the environment and the detailed description she gives. So I want to give this little episode that has to do with what that comes from chapter 10, the Harvest from the Wild. Now, grandmother was fond of telling us stories about the harvest of termites. One of them concerned a character who left Alahtene to visit a distant village where the people's main occupation was harvesting termites. It happened that when the man, a notorious crook in Alahtene, arrived at one of the homes where a huge quantity of termites had been harvested, he pretended to be a traveler on his way to the next village. Since it was already nightfall, he needed a place to spend the night and was offered accommodation by the homeowners. The kind hosts had harvested, fried, and filled 2 big jute bags of termite, which were ready for the market the next day. As custom demanded, the host offered the stranger some of the termites, but he pretended and rejected the offer, stating that he could not eat insects that resembled little cockroaches. He bragged that in his hometown, no one would dare to eat those insects because they were considered nasty and meant for birds and toads. Before the homeowners retired to bed, they consulted among themselves whether it was wise to carry the bag of termites to another hidden spot within the house for fear the stranger could steal them at night. Most of them rejected the idea that the stranger would steal something he did not consume. So they left the bags in the room where the stranger slept. When everybody had retired for the night, completely exhausted, the stranger stole the 2 heavy bags, each of which weighed about 50 kilos, and traveled the whole night back to Alahtene. He eventually sold them for a lot of money, and the moral of the story, he said, was you should never trust strangers with your goods, even if the stranger convinces you they don't consume the said product. So those are the 2 extracts that I think I'd love to share with you this evening. There are many more that we are looking at our time, but this is with those 2, and especially with this last one, I said they just give you an idea of the sort of stories and the sort of lessons that we learn when we read this story. And I think the 2 reviewers, the chief launcher and Professor Atanga, they have given us a real good insight into what the novel looks like. All right, so I don't know whether you enjoyed those excerpts. I know you have your own preferences, and I wish you even more enjoyment when you read the stories for yourself. We will now move straight to the next part of our program, which is a quick quiz. And I will invite in Professor Jude Fokwang to introduce us to this segment of the program. Professor Jude.
Jude's internet seems to be acting up, so he might be going in and out.
Dr. Lillian Ndangam, can you introduce that segment?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can get you.
Okay. I was just saying Jude's internet is acting up, so he is a bit in and out of the program. We do apologize for that. So we're going to go into a fun quiz section, and we invite you all to participate. I share a link on the chat for you to participate in that quiz. So please click on that link and join. It's a fun quiz for you to get to know the author a bit more, and also a bit more about the book and its publisher. So it should be fun, and the winner gets a free book from Spears. So do participate, and if you win first place and second place, you get to win a prize from Spears. You'll be giving away one of our books that we've published. So I do encourage you to join on that link. And when I do share my screen, you would also see the link there, the quiz number to participate. I see only one person so far who's joined. So let me share my screen. 2 people on, that's great. Okay. So if you can see it, you can also just go to this website, menti.com, and enter the code that you see on the screen. So we have 5 players ready. When we get 10, we would start. So go to menti.com and enter 16854397 when you're asked for a code. And also, while we wait for participants, I want to take the opportunity to acknowledge the presence of Her Majesty, one of the Queens of Bafut, Ma Adela Abumbi. Thank you for the honor of your presence at this launch today. We appreciate you, and we recognize your presence as well. Thank you so much. For those who are using one-person sign-in, to please make sure you're putting your name for the quiz so that if you win a prize, we can send it to you and not the person whose name you used to sign in.
Lillian, can you post that link again? I think someone was requesting that link.
Sure.
I think it's also seen from your screen. It's menti.com, I believe.
Yeah, it's menti.com.
Menti.com.
And the code is 1685437. So there's a fluctuation, people drop in and out. So perhaps instead of waiting, because of time, we would proceed with the people who are here. Let me just drop that in the chat again. So if you click on that link, it should take you to a quiz. Thank you. So we have 7 players. So the key, if I can give you a few tips, is speed and accuracy. So the sooner you answer, the more points you get, but you also have to be accurate in your response. Okay, so the 7 players on board, if you're ready, we can start.
Just want to comment that Mary's children are not fair players here.
Who knows? They might not know everything.
Well,
okay.
We'll find out.
All right. So answer fast to get more points.
So everybody is unmuted now.
Left.
Feel free.
5 seconds left.
Feel free.
Okay. Some people already think Alahtene exists. So yeah, the right answer here was Bafut. The author was born in Bafut. Thank you. And 5 people got that right. Let's see. Somebody's called Small Picking. So Eunice got his fastest and is the top at the leading position. Second question, we have 11 players. What's the second question? Sorry. Sorry about that. My goodness, what's happening?
Okay, while you're trying to figure that, I want to say Eunice is cheating.
She's cheating. Excuse me, let me just stop this and redo again.
Where is Eunice? Maybe Eunice should be playing for fun, not to win a prize.
Oh, no, I'm just joking. How is she cheating?
I don't know, but I just said there are not. This is not a level playing field for many people here.
Hey.
So
well, you know, some of the children themselves might not even know facts about their mother or the book, you know, and so it's good that let them enjoy the fun. You know.
Oh yeah, it's really for the fun. It's for the fun.
While this is going on, please continue to go to the link to buy your copies of the book. Continue to go to the link to buy your copies of the book.
Yeah, and while she's doing that, I should just say people should rename themselves with their proper names. We have the case where some participants shared their link. So, for example, we have, I think, 3 or 4 Marilyns, and they've made pledges. So we don't know exactly which Marilyn is pledging what. It's going to be tough.
Brother Jude really appears to have problems with his internet also. So, Dr. Lillian Dagam, are you still on? Are you rectifying something?
Yes, I'm on. Let's see if we can proceed. Let me share.
Okay.
Before Jude gets back.
I have to apologize for my internet connection. It's the worst I've ever seen. So, but
it happens.
Keeps kicking me out. It keeps kicking me out.
It happens, and it always goes
question.
towards the leader.
Unfortunately.
That's the second question. In the book, who is the character Ta Nujula in Alahtene village context? Only one person got that right. It's a retired German soldier who's living in the village. Thank you. Let's see who got that right. Small Pekin. Oops, sorry.
Who is Small Pekin, for God's sake?
Nicolas is sharp for morning. Okay. Next question. 8 players. The Royal Kew Botanical Garden in London named a newly discovered plant after the author. What is the name of the plant? Okay. Oh, wonderful. Everybody got that right. Well done. You're listening and paying attention. Very good. So who got it fastest? Small Pekin still got it fastest. Well done.
Is that Small Pekin a big person?
Obviously.
Otto's
first career was as a police officer, true or false? It's true. She started off a career as a police officer. You wouldn't know, would you? Law and order. Yeah. Okay. Leaderboard. There's somebody called Earthman. Agent X9 sounds like a police officer. Okay, Eunice Van de Kip is second, and Comfort is third. Well done. The fastest to win. What did the author study at university? That was quick.
Goodness me.
Oh, wow. You all know the author very well. Author studied law. She studied law at the University of Yaoundé. Okay. Who got it fastest? There's a Prince. Prince got it fastest. Is my thing frozen? Okay.
I can see you, so it's
Yeah.
going.
Question 6. Did I skip 6? Sorry. Yeah. When was Pierce Books founded? Very good. 5 people got that right. If you were here at the beginning,
Yeah.
Jude mentioned that. Well
Right.
done.
Right.
Prince got it right. Fastest, I think. Prince and Earthman. Well done.
Small picking
7.
is still at the top.
Small picking, Kodla still sharp.
Small number 6.
Okay. Answer the most. Spears Books has published a book series on sustainable development in Africa. True or false? Yeah, it's true. There's a whole series of books we've published on that, and you can talk a bit more about that.
All the books are open access.
Which means they're free.
You can download and read them.
Well done, Martin. I think that person was the fastest. Nate the Great is fastest. Well done. Question 8.
Eunice, you are losing your second position.
It's going down and down for Eunice. Come on. Sorry. Question 8. How did the main character in Sibi's adventures get her pet monkey called Adamu?
I love that pet monkey.
Yeah, it helped the author to become an environmentalist.
Okay, the right answer is by chasing its mother, causing the mother to fall off, causing the baby monkey to fall off the mother's tummy. One person got it right.
So the guy from a plum tree. What kind of plum tree?
Let's see who got it right. Nate. Nate has a book. Well done, Nate. Okay. Doesn't change your position much, but keep trying. Question 9. Almost there. True or false? The author ran for office to serve as a member of parliament. Oh wow, that was a quick. Everybody got answered already. You should have shortened the time. That's a fun fact, right? You wouldn't know that.
Yeah, it's very obvious if you know the author.
Okay. Thank you. Let's see. Got it. And who was the fastest? Nate was the fastest. Small picking is still at the top. Eunice is dropping to 5th. Keep trying. Almost there.
Keep trying, Eunice.
Eunice, remember you were the first.
What happened in the village market that plunged the whole village into turmoil? Was it Sibi's pet monkey snatched some palm wine and drank it, or Sibi broke a woman's
monkey?
The arrest of men over poll tax.
That's a good decoy.
Okay, so let's see who got the answers. The fastest was small picking. Well done, well done. Thank you. Nice. Okay, next question. Why did kids of Alahtene refrain from reporting their squabbles to their parents or elders? Because both the reporter and the culprit will be punished. So nobody wanted to be receiving end of that punishment, right? Well done, Eunice C. About to climb up again. She got it fastest. Thank you. The last question. Okay. Best effort. How many books has PS Book published so far? Bonus points. Take a guess. Nice, 4 people got it right. Well done, thank you. 63 books.
It's a good question to guess the highest number, you know.
I'm sure they guessed it. Small Picking wins quiz with 7,754 points. Well done, congratulations. As a first place winner, you win a copy of the radio and other stories published by Spears, written by Gil Dishang. And the second prize winner is Prince. Prince wins a copy of What God Has Put Asunder, published by Spears, written by Victor Epie. So please send your address to us privately in the chat on Zoom, and we will get your books shipped to you. Thank you. Thank you for participating.
Thank you, Dr. Lillian Dangam, Managing Editor at Spears Press. Thank you very much for that quiz. We found it very interesting. Thank you to all the participants. That was a bold step you took. And congratulations to Small Pekin and Prince, to two winners with two extreme names, Small Pekin and Prince. Small Pekin. Thank you for winning, and I assure you that your prizes are great prizes. I happen to have read those 2 books, The Radio and Other Stories, and What God Has Put Asunder. Those are really, really great works which you would enjoy. From that quiz, we learn new fun facts about the author, and we continue to celebrate her. When you look at her very modest nature, you will not know that she has been a policewoman sometimes. We need to corner her and ask her whether she did see so many 500 francs. Of course, I know that could not have been her portion. We also know the top politician that she was until she ran for parliament. In fact, as somebody who comes from the same constituency as herself, the wish was for her to get into parliament and go beyond. But you know, God has the master timetable. So many fun facts about her, and we just know that this is a great lady to be celebrated, not just for this book, but for who she is. It's now reading time, and we'll go over to the publisher, Professor Jude Fokwa.
Okay, thank you once again, Brother Tangier. I wonder if I can ask you to moderate all our future events, because you're doing such a wonderful job. It's such a pleasure to work with you. I'm really enjoying this. Thank you so much for the wonderful work you're doing, and for supporting our efforts as well. So I think, dear attendees, I would like to draw your attention to an important segment in this launch, this event. This is where we invite you to give 5 stars to the book. We think this book deserves a 5-star, otherwise we would not have published it. We think it's a great book. But we want the world to know it's a wonderful book. It's a great read. And so if you have purchased a copy of this book on Amazon, we are going to share the link shortly. We invite you to go on Amazon to give it a 5-star rating. You can also do so on our website. Feel free to do that. For those of you who are avid readers, you might know about goodreads.com. We also invite you to go to goodreads.com and add the book to your shelf, share it with your friends to let them know you have read the book, let them know that you rate this book very highly and that you would like them to read it as well, so you can all share and talk about the fun stories in the book. The book is available in Google format. It is available on the Apple platform, though. As you can see, it's widely available in a variety of formats and of course in paperback as well. And so you can read the book on all those platforms. We will share those links with you shortly. And I want to end on this final note. It's a great book. We would love children all over the world to be able to read the book. And for those of you who are joining from Europe, from Canada, from the US, you can recommend this book to be purchased by your local library. And so we will post a link that you can use to refer or recommend this book so that your librarian can purchase a copy of the book and put it on their shelves. We always try as much as possible to let librarians know that diversity is the hallmark of this age. They love hearing and buying books from diverse authors. And I think this book would make a wonderful read, a wonderful addition to any shelf. So please, we invite you to support the author, support our work by not only rating the book, but also recommending it to be purchased by all libraries that you know of. So thank you very much. Over to you, Mr. Moderator.
Okay, thank you, Professor Jude. That was quite snappy. And please, I hope we got the message. Let us rate this book 5 stars. And let us continue to buy the books. One of the elements that is absent in a Zoom launch is announcing the donations that people make. But because this is being recorded, if you buy the book, and of course, when you buy the book in the link, your name is seen, and an inventory would be made of those who have purchased the books, and definitely the author would be able to express her gratitude to you, especially during this launch. So please use the link to buy the book. If you want to make a personal donation to the author, you can also indicate that. There's a chat box where you can usually indicate whether you have purchased the books or not. Towards the end, Brother Jude might like to maybe highlight some of those who have already purchased on the website during this launching.
I have a list that I was trying to follow on the chat. The chief launcher donated. Pam Boniface said she was going to get 5 copies. Martha Ese said she'll get 60 copies. So we have a lot of people named Marilyn. Please rename yourself. Marilyn probably shared her link with so many people. When you do that, the people who join are going to be called Marilyn Mwanze, I think. So we have a Marilyn Mwanze who said they're going to buy 5 copies. We have another Marilyn who said they're going to buy 20 copies. I don't know which of them is Marilyn and which of them is another person. And we also had Divine Cheneba who donated 50,000 francs and is going to deposit it in Cameroon. Now, if there are other people who want to buy copies or pledge to buy copies, please let us know. I have also posted a link on the website. You can order directly from our website. It's very trustworthy. It's very safe. Please go directly to that link and place your order, get the discounted copies, and we will have that shipped to your address. And you will receive those. So please do that while we are on this launch and make use of that discounted copy and purchase copies of the book.
Exactly. Thank you, Dr. Lillian. Thank you so much. Please continue to buy, continue to buy. That is a main part of launching. And just a little joke, maybe there are so many Marilyns because the author is Mary, so you just want to identify yourself with the author. I can just decide to bear Mary Peters today. That's just a joke. Okay, please identify yourselves. It's question and answer time now. This is time for us to talk. You just indicate if you have something to say. There are many things that we have said this evening about the author. If you want to make a comment about the genre, as was being raised by Professor Lillian Lematanga, if you want to make a comment on that, that is fine. If you want to comment on what the chief launcher said, that is fine at this moment. If you want to say something maybe to the publishers or ask a question, this is the time. We are good with our time. We intended this launch to last for 2 hours. We started a little bit late at 1:30 Eastern time instead of 1 o'clock. So our target is to close at 3:30, which means we have about some 11 minutes to that time. We might be able to adjust a little bit, but not so much. So we are giving ourselves the next 15, 20 minutes for questions and answers, and please be snappy when you want to make a contribution so that we can have as many people as possible. So the publisher, the author, the moderator is here to listen to your comments. We've had great people here, as I indicated earlier. If Professor Gwanfobe would like to make a comment, I will be grateful. I did see Mr. Martin Jumbam here, one of those very great writers I respect a lot. I've read some of his works and I respect a lot. And many writers here can go from person to person. This is the time that if you like to contribute, please do indicate, and the technical team will bring you on. Are we together?
Yes.
Yes, yes, we're here.
We are helping with identifying. I think
Mary has her hands up.
Okay, so please, technical team, Dr. Lillian Dangan, please try to be identifying the people. Oh, I see Mrs. Mary Ngu. That's my sister and classmate. Very good.
Yes, thank you very much. First of all, congratulations to the author. It's a wonderful thing to know that her book is a book for children, and a lot of our children, they didn't grow up in the country. They are abroad with their parents, and they miss those adventures that some of us had when we were growing up. So this is a great addition to children's literature, and it's going to be really, really exciting to read these books. As the doctor who did the chief launcher said, those are the formative years of a child. And some of the things, the ways that we grew up and what we have become is because of the way that we were raised. So writing, like our sister Mary Fossey, my namesake, has achieved through this project, is an opportunity for the children that never had an opportunity to be able to have that experience and reconnect. I will say something that I guess a lot of you know about. There are many of our children who live in the United States, abroad, who are disconnected from their roots, and they are confused about what is it that their parents are telling them, contrary to the lives that they are living out there. So this is a great opportunity for people to get this book and help the children to reconnect with their background. This is something that it is so, so, so precious. I just wanted to say that. Thank you very much, Spears Authors. And I also came here because I don't know the author personally. I wanted to find out who she is, and I'm so, so grateful. I'd spent all day out. I just got in when you were starting. So I'm very, very pleased. And besides, the moderator is my former classmate. So I had every reason to be here. And thank you to everyone and to Spears Authors. Whatever you do, I want to be a part of it. Thanks again.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mary, and I'd like the audience to know that Mary is also an author. She's published two collections of poetry and very, very profound writing. And she's made a very important contribution. The fact that our children abroad need to reconnect with their roots, especially in sharing stories like this. So thank you very much for coming and for your contribution. Any more contributors, please?
You're welcome, thanks.
We have Martin. And yeah, proceed.
Okay, yes, thank you very much. Congratulations to Mary, the author. Congratulations to Mr. Peter Tangier. I mean, you're doing a wonderful job. Thank you very much. I just want to be very quick here. And also, I'd like to thank Dr. Tang Fossey, who did something on children. I never thought, I didn't think of it that way, but if you can put that down in writing for some of us, we'll be very happy to read you what your contribution this day to this event. When I got Mary's book, I had just we had just had a radio program. I'm a Catholic journalist working Radio Veritas in Douala, and we had just had a program on the grandmother and the grandparents, because the Holy Father Pope Francis published something quite recently on grandparents, the role of grandparents in our society. And I was, you know, when I read about this, the grandmother here, I was really quite happy because, you know, my mother too died several years ago, but she was a great grandmother where the whole family, the whole village kind of gathered around her every so often. And she also came in to settle differences. And I see that coming through very clearly in the grandmother in this book. And Pope Francis, if you permit me to talk very quickly here on, he talks about the importance of grandparents, and he acknowledges grandparents as being significant because they pass on values, traditions, and faith to younger generations. He also sees grandparents as crucibles of wisdom and experience. So he asks that children should benefit from their grandparents, and I see that happening in this book, where Sibi, you know, learns a lot from her grandmother, and also grandparents are memory keepers. Spiritual role, they play a spiritual role by bringing their children up in the faith, and they're also a source of love and affection. Those are the some of the things Pope Francis says in his book, in what he has written, which we use at our radio station. So when I read this book, you know, it came to mind, and I said, hey, let me just share this in this event. So it's really great. I'm happy to be here, and congratulate PS Media, of course, for making this event possible. And thank you very much. Once more, congratulations to Mary. As the other Mary said, I don't know her personally, but through her book now, you know, we we commune quite effectively. Thank you very much, and may God bless us all. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much, Mr. Martin Jubam. I know you as an avid reader and writer, which is great. I like the spotlight that Mr. Martin Jubam has given on the grandparents. Because while we say that this book deals with Sibi's adventures and the growing of children, we should not forget that Ndi, the grandma, is actually one of the main characters. And her psychology, the things she teaches Sibi. And I know there is a chapter that talks about this court. You know, she's so much venerated that the village comes to her for counseling. If she's a member of the village council, they try to corrupt her, she refuses to be corrupted. And as a person, many people who have issues in the village come to her for counseling. And We therefore are not only highlighting that this book is important for children to read and get connected to their roots, but we are also highlighting the fact that adults who read this book need to rethink about the roots.
Can I help you?
Sorry, there was that interruption. I'm saying that we need to highlight the fact that adults who read this book have the opportunity of also rethinking the roles they play in the upbringing of children, the way that they does. And that was an important input from Mr. Martin Jubab. Is there any other contribution? Control room, any other person has indicated who wants to contribute?
Yes, there is Vera.
It's Vera.
First, please.
And I would also like to talk when it's possible.
Right.
Thank you.
So after Vera, Professor Gwanfobe, please, because we have just about 2 or 3 more persons to talk.
Good afternoon, everyone. And I would like to seize this special opportunity to applaud Madam Mary Fusi for the wonderful book that she has put together, more especially for our children. And the book, as you all can see, connects us to our roots, and especially children who never had the opportunity to grow up where most of us in here grew up. This book is a very nice piece to help connect these children, especially with the natural environment that we enjoyed. So I would like to, I've bought copies of these books, and I've also personally shared the books to 2 of our libraries out here in Virginia. And I would like to encourage everyone to do something to promote this book, because in this fast developing world, we are all losing some of the beautiful things that connected us and made us who we are. So thank you all, and I'm glad to share my portion. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.
Wow, okay. Just before Professor Gwanfobe comes up, thank you, Mrs. Vera Tangiri, especially when you mentioned the idea of sharing the books to some libraries. It strikes me as a former school administrator, what place we give to libraries. And I hope that our listeners from our participants from Cameroon, especially those who are in the educational field, can get to the inspectors, so that the inspectors get principals of schools to buy copies of this book for their libraries. That is very, very important. I'm sure that we must have 1 or 2 inspectors of education here, regional inspectors, and it is important when we see a book that is necessary for the school environment, we should highlight it. It's important for each school to get at least 5 copies of this book for their library, and that would really address an essential concern that we have in our secondary schools. Now, Professor Matthew Gwanfobe.
Thank you so much. I am pleased to be part of this event. I think the choice of Tangisu to be the moderator has added more life to this particular program. And I want to thank Spears Publishers so much for this opportunity they have given so that we can share in such events. May I also point out that it is an event like this that will encourage writers to write, encourage readers to read, encourage non-readers to gain an interest in reading. I think with this, it would be very possible for us to improve on our reading, because back at home, the greatest problem we have is that people don't read. Even if you give them the book, they will not read. This is the biggest problem they have. And again, the author has done a very good job because he's touched on the culture of the people. Anybody reading this book will have something that touches his own background. And this attraction will cause more interest. And of course, when this interest is shared, it will encourage others to also seek to read. So I am very impressed, and I want to thank the author very specially for writing. And I also feel this is a call for the female writers to pick up, and let us see many more book launches by female authors coming especially from Cameroon background. I thank you all. I thank everybody for being there and for the encouragement. And I hope I will be able to use my own copies for my grandchildren who are around me here while sending whatever I have left back home. Thank you so much and have
some technical error.
I am frozen. Can you all hear me?
Yeah, we
Yes,
can
I
hear
can
you.
hear you now. Prof got
But-
frozen at the end of his speech.
Yeah.
I ended, however.
Oh, okay, all right. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you very much for all the input and for your presence in particular. I mean, just having a personality like you in a book launch like this gives it a different orientation and yeah, words of wisdom. I note the fact that you said that you would use your some of your copies with your grandchildren here and then send the rest back home. You know, this is what we should be doing, buying copies for those in diaspora and also making sure people at home know about this book. And one thing that we have not remarked about this book is the pictures in the book, albeit that some would like that the pictures should have been in colored. They are in black and white, but they still make the point. And I want to say that even those who give this book to people, especially those you know who do not like reading, if you give it to them, at least they will look at the pictures. And that is very important, you know. We will have one more contribution and then we would move ahead. Technical team, is there one more contribution? Then we will go to the last part of the program.
Margaret, all the way from Canada. Go ahead, Margaret.
Hi, everyone, and thank you for giving me this opportunity. I'll try to be very brief. I would like to first of all say congratulations to Mom Mary and to my people, peers, publisher. I'm very proud of you. And this event has been an inspiration to me personally. And I had already purchased some copies of this book and I already made an order for 10 more copies. I'll ensure that I share it to my agency. I work with Children's Aid Society, and so I'll make sure that, you know, I promote the African perspective of things so that children, especially of African descent, who are born in this environment. Anyway, first of all, I'm in Canada. So children who are born in this environment can also, like, you know, understand where some of us are coming from. Thank you, everyone.
Wow.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Margaret. Really appreciate it. Good to bring different perspectives when we work with children, global perspectives. Yes, thank you. Over to you, moderator. Before, please, all the people who are named Marilyn, we really cannot track you if you don't rename yourself. So we have like 2, 4, 5 people who have pledged to buy copies of the book, and they're all called Marilyn Mwanze, and we don't know who those people are. Please, if you can rename yourself, then we know who has offered to buy what number of books. Better still, please go to the website, use the link we have shared, and order directly from there. We will have the copies shipped to you, please. But we cannot track all the 7 or so Marilyns that we see on here. If you don't name yourself, we don't know who the right person is. So please click the link and go directly and buy copies of the book there.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Dr. Lillian. And again, thank you, Margaret and Galing, for your input. Your words were so heartwarming, especially when you talk about how you would promote the book. Thank you so much. And we know many more people would like to speak, and but like we said at the beginning, this program is being recorded, and we have to look at time. We are actually getting out of time, so we would get to the closing remarks at this point. Brother Jude, do you agree? We move on to the conclusion.
Yeah, we have one last comment from Professor Atanga, and then we'll go to the last remarks.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Thank you very much for giving me this little space. I'm just coming back to something that I mentioned earlier, which a lot of people too have indicated. The author has written this book in such a way that it's very easy to read. And I want to come back to what Professor Gwanfove said about people who don't read, people who read, and people who wish to read. I want to say that if you pick up a copy of this book, you can just open any story at any level, at any page of the book, and you have a complete story. So this is a way you could read the story as bedtime stories to your children or for yourself. Randomly, open any page and go to any new heading and just read that full story. It can be 1 page, it can be 2 pages, but maximum 3 pages. So that is a good way for you to read this book without straining yourself that I need to start from the beginning and finish at the end. But while doing this, it's good to read chapter 1 so that you ground yourself on how Sibi got to reporting what she is reporting. So I just thought to bring this out so that people can enjoy the book without the pressure of having to read it as a novel from the beginning to the end with a straight plot. That you need to know what happened previously to know what will happen in the future. So that was it. Thank you very much, moderator and publisher and managing editor for this space. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that input. It's time for our closing remarks, and we would start with the author, Mrs. Mary, your closing remarks. Mrs. Mary Fossey, your closing remarks.
Please unmute that, yeah.
To be unmuted. Just hold on, Ma Mary. We cannot hear you. You need to be unmuted. Can somebody invite her to unmute?
Yeah.
I see somebody there. Somebody is before her trying to unmute.
Okay.
Trying to help.
Looks like it's good now.
Yeah,
No?
I'm still seeing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good
Okay.
now.
I think it's done now. Yeah.
Thank you so much, the wonderful team at Spears Media. Thank you so much. In fact, I can name all of you who have contributed personally, but I just want to say I really deeply appreciate all what you have said, all what you have done by turning up massively. I know on a Saturday it's not easy, but this book, as I've written at the end of it, I do pay a special tribute to a special person who was my grandmother, and whom I have very good memories of her. And I also pay a great tribute to a person who left this world just before the book came out, in the person of Dr. Nuba Matthias Livinus, who brought me in contact with Spears Media, which has really become a part of my family. There was that need to reach the younger generation, to reach people who cannot read, because I personally, I suffered like a mom who had children to bring up, certain children that I took from the village to stay with me. And these children, they could not read. Then I went to the bookshops in Cameroon to look for books that they could read. Simple books that when we were in primary school, class 6, class 7, like Round the World in 80 Days, like Oliver Twist and so on. And first of all, I couldn't even find most of those books. And then the literature, the books that I found, those children could not even read who were in class 6 or class 7. So I was just thinking that there must be something which is wrong. And the problem I thought was wrong was that there were not many books, literature books for younger kids. So I thought that in writing this, putting those pieces together, I could contribute in bringing, in actually bridging that gap. So I'm so honored by the way the specialists like Professor Atanga have analyzed it. My son, Dr. Sami, you have analyzed it well, but the message which Prof. Bafobe has come up with is people are not reading. And especially at the younger generation are not reading. They're just watching movies, they're just doing things. So if we can encourage our children to read or encourage people around us, no matter how tired you can be, you can read a page or two of that book each day, and before long you will see that your reading skills have increased. So I really want to appreciate the work that my editor did in this book. That's from Spears. And many people of my age bracket, they are now contacting me and saying, oh, who published your book? We really want to read them. And I'm sure in the next few days, Spears publishers, you'll be flooded with many people coming to you. And I can assure you, my colleague of the Authors Forum, that is Martin Jumba, just be ready because you ghostwrite for so many people. There are many people who are contacting me, and I'm so proud of the outcome of your turnout today. People from all over, from Canada. I really appreciate all of you and thank you all. With the 1 minute left for me to speak, I want to introduce my beautiful sister, Komi, sitting by my side, and my wonderful mom, Mami Grace here, one of my moms, Mami Grace. They have all been an inspiration. They encourage me. They're asking me when is my second book going out. Then we are saying, let us see how this first one goes. So thank you all for those who have supported in buying copies. There were people who did not even think of that, but from now you will talk about it. I really want to appreciate Dr. Divine Kiwang. We call him Kiwang, but you are called Dr. Divine in Cameroon for trying for your support. And I know you own a school. I know this book will go a way to strengthen the capacity of your children to read and write in most of the exams. So thank you all. Komi, can you say what to our audience?
All right. Good evening to everyone. Good evening, wherever you are watching from. We are very, very happy to have all of you here. Thank you for your time. We know all of us are very busy. Everybody's either engaged in one activity or the other, but we thank you all for coming this evening for the book launch. Mama, we call her Mama, we call her sister. So everywhere you go, Auntie Mary, Mama's sister, but it means she's the mother of everybody. And I'm sure her adventures as a child really impacted her life because she just picked up from her grandmother and she's doing the nice things. She's a lady of the people. I mean, everybody will have one or two things to say about her. And she actually, her adventures as a child really did impact her life. And she's trying to introduce that to everybody. She's trying to impact the lives of others. She's doing it, not trying. I see the book when my daughter prays, who is 8 years old, we read the book together, and the portion that we had talked about how her grandmother, the two daughters that her grandmother had died because of cholera and diarrhea, and because they could not, they refused giving water to the children. And so Praise was asking, but why wouldn't they give them water? And we're trying to explain that, it's different. In those days, it's different. As now we know that when a child has diarrhea, we give more water, but in those days, that wasn't the case. And she was like, but then why would they just leave them to die like that? And the termites part, and Praise would be like, why would people eat termites? And we were telling the day you try this, you tell us that we should go back home to eat more of them. So it's a wonderful, and it's successful, and it's a blessing to have Mama with us. And we are looking forward to many more books. She will leave. She said she needs just 5 more years, but she will have more than those years to do many more great things.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Comfort. And it's so heartwarming when you sit near Big Sister, because it encourages her to keep on writing. So thank you, Ma Mary, for your remarks. And all we can say is keep writing. Mr. Chief Launcher, we know you did a very good job. In just 1 minute, please, your closing remarks.
Thank you to everyone for joining and sharing in this experience. I think what stands out in my mind is that the protagonist of the novel, well, one of the two protagonists, so the grandmother, who is, well, I think if we're going to take it as autobiographical, my great grandmother wanted the community to come together, and the communal value was one of the key didactic points which I mentioned in the novel. Coming together through this lunch is therefore very fitting, and I'm grateful that everyone has done so. And I hope we can go back and spread this novel and all the values which it carries with it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Precise in everything. Keep on saving our children so that they can grow up and read what we write. Mr. Publisher, we don't know how to thank you for everything that you do. Your closing remarks, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Again, I just want to thank Ma Mary. That's how I call her. She's also our mother. Congratulations. We are very proud of you. I am particularly grateful to Dr. Matthias Niba. So thanks for making that connection, because he's the one who actually connected us. I have such fond memories of Dr. Niba, and I was quite shocked when he passed. So I'm glad that he brought us together, and we are very, very pleased with the work that we have done. And we are glad that you could tell this story, and now it's part of your legacy. In terms of moving forward, this is the last of our events for the spring. We'll have a lineup of events for the fall. We usually take a break over the summer. Hopefully you would follow us on Facebook. For those of you who are on Facebook, just go to facebook.com/SPSBooks. If you're on Twitter, you can also do the same, twitter.com/SPSBooks. Same for Instagram. And there you'd be updated on exactly what we are doing. We have 2 new books coming out. We have lots of book launches planned for the summer, for the fall, and tons of wonderful books lined up for next year. So please follow us, like us, and spread the good news. If you have a title of yours in the making, do not hesitate, reach out to us. We have a ghostwriter in case you don't have the patience to sit down and write. Celebrating authorship. And I think I want to end again on this note. It's Mother's Day tomorrow. So congratulations to all the mothers. Happy Mother's Day. We are all very, very proud of you for the work you're doing and for all the instruction and lessons that you are impacting in the world. So thank you. and enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Well, after that pronouncement, I wonder whether there is anything more to say, but as moderator, let me just cue in and thanking the author, Ma Mary, for the wonderful job that you have done. And as we would keep on saying that you have many more years to live, don't live your life thinking about when you will die. Rather think about what you should be doing. And when you have the things that we have said this evening should be some sort of prayers for long life for you. Again, Spears Media Press, we say thank you for this forum. Even though I've not participated in many of the book launches you have done on Zoom, I did participate in that of Professor Langmia and missed that of Professor Matthew Gwanfobe. I really registered, but something took me away. And this is something new for those of us coming from Cameroon. And it's something that I'm already encouraging those in Cameroon to start practicing, because it is difficult for people to come together, especially in our zone, as we know. So thank you again, Professor Jude Fokwang, for all that you do, for all the publications, for all the encouragement. Please get to the Spears website, and if you do have questions, address them to Professor Jude, and you would experience what it means to have a friendly answer, you know. There is, of course, a technical team. He doesn't work alone. For today's work, we have seen his better half, Dr. Lillian Dangam, in the technical room, doing a fantastic job. And there were lots of preparations for this. We had a control room in which I noted people like Mr. Patrick Tata and Dr. Victor Gomia. Thank you for whatever input you are giving into Spears Media, for all that it is doing for writers. I did hear Ma Mary mention Dr. Divine Cheneba in Cameroon, queuing in. I'm reminded of him because we talked about Dr. Matthias Neba, and that's a young professor that I know is out and very serious about encouraging works and creative works like this. Also, Dr. Lilian did welcome Adela Bumbi. I want again to say that it's an honor when we have such personalities amongst us. And finally, I also heard Professor Jude mention the métiers. I'm not a métier, I'm a Boban, and I remember that Bobans and Secret Heart students always had lots of conflict as to those who are doing better, you know, academically. So we welcome the métiers here. It's been a very wide audience. I'm seeing my brother Sama Festus through joining in. Unfortunately, we are wrapping up at this moment. So welcome, Festus. That's another writer. And I know Spears is waiting for your work very seriously. Thank you all who have tuned in from the US, from Canada, from the UK, and especially from Cameroon and all other countries. It's been a wonderful pleasure taking part in this book launch. And I trust that we would all get copies for ourselves, for our friends, and for the friends of our friends. Do have a wonderful day or a wonderful evening, depending on your area. Thank you.